Good evening, everyone. I tried to do a video on this a while back, but it was when my microphone was being funny. I wanted to talk a little bit about colors, um, colors and witchcraft. And I'm going to start with this particular picture here. So this picture caught my eye. It was in the newspaper. In fact, I think it was actually appropriately used to showcase the hypocrisy of all of the um, protests, demonstrations, riots, whatever you want to call them, that were happening that week. And then, of course, the corona lockdowns that were being enforced everywhere. And during a long period of lockdowns and for social distancing and mandatory masks and all this stuff, thousands upon thousands of people gathered in New York for Black Trans Lives Matter, which to me, in my obvious ignorance, is a very small part of the population, but as is demonstrated here, opportunists hopped on board and were part of this event. Now, what's so intriguing about this picture is that everybody is wearing the color white. Now, it suddenly jolted me back to a memory. I was dating a guy quite a number of years back who worked in an event space in the city, and this event space used to occasionally host white parties. And I remember him talking about them being basically mostly attended by Black people wearing all white. I never thought anything of it at the time. Why would I? Now I'm wondering, okay, well, why is it now that I know that this entire movement is controlled opposition? It's the in a global lockdown of all human beings. This is the only thing that's allowed to happen globally. So clearly, this is a globalist move. I mean, they really hide nothing now. It's so lame. So immediately I'm like, okay, well, what does white mean? So I had a really hard time finding out what witchcraft and color um, guides, except that, hey, allure.com came to my rescue. How interesting a magazine would do that. I'm going to put this link in the description box below, and it goes on about color magic. Whereas apparently you wear color to invoke a certain desired outcome. So we'll just go straight all the way down here to white, and we will touch on the color black because I found that all very interesting. So let's go straight to white. So white is useful in magic as it can act as a stand-in for any other color. It's essentially a blank slate. If I wanted a red seduction candle but only had white, I would toss some red glitter on the white candle to achieve the same effects. It's cleansing, purifying, and so it's great for clearing away old energies and bringing in new energies. So what do you think they're trying to do there? They're trying to clear the old and bring in the new. What else is interesting here is they're saying that it is basically a blank slate. Now, people that run ritual uh, of any kind are the ones who are setting the intention, not the people, not the followers, not the energy, not the battery, which is literally what the masses are. The masses are the battery of energy that runs the ritual. Okay. And this is all stuff that I've gathered over learning about church machines and learning about their incredible stuff with the mud flood and all of that community's research that I've gathered from all of that stuff and all of the energy making and cymatics and stuff. Anyway, this is just the way things are, and this is how they run things. So this is really creepy because basically everybody who shows up wearing white, you're basically literally a page, a blank page, and you are not the one setting the intention. You're not the one casting the other color, the actual color they want to use, on you as a canvas. Now, what's so interesting about black? Everybody thinks that black denotes, a bad witch or whatever. But what's really interesting is the color black is in and of itself isn't bad. It's actually most often associated with protection and uncrossing and can be used to ward off any negative vibes that may be thrown your way, which is really interesting. So the main reason why a witch might want to wear black would be to uh, protect themselves. So if you feel like you have someone in your life, I'm not saying, because I would never advise practicing any of this stuff, magic, whether you think it's white magic or just a little tarot cards, whatever. Just don't. Especially never accept money for it or favors for doing things like tarot cards or whatever. If it's not given of your own, you know, yeah, just don't even, just, you know what, just don't. It's all a mess. It's all a tangled web. But wearing black, if you're concerned about people trying to get at you, is probably not a bad idea. So you might want to consider wearing all black for the rest of the year. Anyway, this is very interesting. So it has what all the other colors mean. And what I find very interesting is they use the phrase hell yes in here. But I have heard that in some countries, green is considered the color of the devil. And I don't exactly know why. I know there's the green man in folklore. Green is also the color of money. And green is also a color that has equal parts cool and warm tones in it, similar to purple. So it could be considered like purple is sort of the color of royalty or assumed royalty, taken royalty. So I don't know exactly if green would be the similar one. But anyway, I find it very interesting, especially when you take into consideration the green man. Okay, so where am I going with all of this? Well, there is a purpose to this, and part of the reason why I wanted to talk to you a little bit about this is the spell casting, and just to talk a little bit more about this presence of witches. You know, the other day, Linda Paris brought up this, and it was a book, I believe, that was found by someone that had this, or a box or something that had this symbol on it, and she said, "Oh, it's so interesting. It's a symbol of the Anenerbe." Now, I've never heard of these people before, ever. Never heard of them. But when I saw this symbol, I immediately thought of the ribbon campaigns because they use their symbolism everywhere. And what's really creepy is, where did I find the white? Okay, so the white ribbon campaign used to be ending violence against women. And yeah, color. Oh, and they're Halo branded solutions. How interesting that is. So let's see what they're saying about different colors of ribbon. What color of ribbon should I use? Emphysema, lung cancer, no. Blindness, bone cancer, diabetes, poverty, and right to life. So what is the women's violence against women? Now the reason why I remember this, the reason why I remember that the white ribbon campaign used to be anti-violence against women, was because, oh, now teal, sexual assault. Oh, isn't that interesting? They don't have a ribbon for violence against women. How interesting. Domestic violence. Oh, it's purple now. So anyway, they used to have the white ribbon campaign, and it used to be violence against women. They don't have this anymore. And I remember this very distinctly because at the time I was working for a music festival, and I met John Gomeshi at that thing. And I don't know if you guys know who John Gomeshi is, but he's a Canadian um, television presenter who actually very famously, the very disgusting Billy Bob Thornton had a big freak out on him on the air, and basically it was like this terrible interview they did. Well, it turns out that the guy who he freaked out on later ended up having a huge sexual allegations thrown at him about him being abusive and stuff. And he got really thrown under the bus, and I'm not necessarily doubting that he's a creepy dude, but he definitely did something. He crossed some lines because Hollywood North chewed him up and spat him out, and Billy Bob Thornton threw him under the bus. Anyway, when that all came to light, I was remembering having met him at this White Ribbon campaign. It was, no, I can't remember. It was, the concert was at that place on Sherburne Avenue. Can't think of what it's called again now, but it's a big event space. Anyway, how interesting they don't even have this anymore for the violence against women. But there you go. They even have it crossed over the exact same way. But, they say they put their symbols in plain sight. And so the NNRB are basically the White Ribbon or the Ribbon Campaign people. And so what are they? Well, they were a think tank, I guess, specifically supporting the idea that modern Germans descended from the ancient Aryan race and were seen as biologically superior to others. Oh, well, that was just the Nazi Party. But what about these guys specifically? The NNRB. Okay, so he established the NNRB with purpose of providing evidence for... Oh, okay. So these ribbons basically are showing scholars who are in support of racial superiority. So there you go. White Ribbon Campaign, hiding in plain sight. All right, guys, I'm good for now. I'll talk